Well, we're so excited to be with you. We realized in some of our discussions this year that we were giving all of this great stuff to our student partners and to our Black belts, but the broader community could probably benefit from understanding that one of the keys to casing is having a plan, and then tailoring that plan to what you need. So I'm going to talk about both of those today. I'm going to talk about our 4-week prep plan. This is a prep plan that can be condensed if you only have 2 weeks, but I'm going to recommend that you spend at least 4, and you're going to see why as I walk through the detail of the plan. It can also be extended. So if some of you, like I saw 48%, I think, right, Japheth, said that they're going to be interviewing fall or later. Now is actually still the time to start. We would just recommend that you do these with some breaks in between your days. And that's going to help build the best baseline. It's kind of learning casing is like learning a language. If you try to learn it in a week, you're not going to be able to, you'll learn a couple words. You can probably order something and give a few numbers, but you're not going to be able to actually solve problems and have conversations and have a meaningful interaction with the folks that you're working with. So the longer you give yourself, the better you're going to be at it overall. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'll share some of the detail of the session that we're looking forward to today. I think you're going to really enjoy what we've got to share. So let's see here. Let's try to get that on the right spot. Okay, good. So first of all, the first place that I want to start is people are hiring. This is one of the first questions that we're getting from people. Is anyone hiring? Yes. The answer is yes. So I checked today our management consulted job board, which is available to members of our community, and partner schools. We're going to have you in there in under 30 days. I'm so excited, but we have a job board that is curated specifically for management consulting and for strategy roles where you use similar skills. So are people hiring? The answer is yes. There are over 2,000 jobs that are active right now with firms that we've said we would be happy to go to. Usually that means they're paying over $100,000 a year at a baseline and more at the MBA level or beyond. They're firms that we think provide great training, do work with meaningful clients, et cetera. So we've touched each one of these to kind of get a filter. So you're not going to find roles that are really low level or admin roles inside there. So the first thing I just want to say is preface all of this with you're never going to have as much time as you think you will. You're going to get opportunities you won't think that you will. And therefore, following a plan like this is really going to help to ensure your success. As I'm going through the session today, I'm going to walk through our agenda. Japheth is going to be handling questions in the chat. So if you have them, pop them in. We want to hear your questions. We want to know what you are. If you're from a school, give us context with the question. If you're individual, just let us know what you're thinking through. But what I'll do today in the session is do an overview of the 4 steps of case prep. We've really isolated this, so each week is one of the steps. And some of you know, we have a pretty popular statistic that we put all over the place. We get over 80% of the people that do our Black Belt program, which is 8 touches with us, so 8 interactions with a coach, into top 10 consulting firms, which includes MBB and Big Four, et cetera. How do we do that? I mean, the numbers are extraordinary, and under 3% of people would get in on their own. And I just want to tell you, today we're pulling back the kimono and we're telling you, this is how we do it, right? We're sharing the information with you. You're going to find that there's a lot more granular detail potentially than what you thought, but I'll share those 4 steps. Then I'm going to walk through each one of the 4 steps. So if you have questions about specific things, I'll give you a little bit of a deep dive on each one about a particular type of thing that we cover inside there, one of our areas of methodology. So you're going to get more than just like, here's what you do. You're going to get a here's why we think you should do it for each one of those sections. So the first one is market sizing and structure. The second one is math and brainstorming, the 2 key hangups for people that are really battling to know what to do inside the case. The third is what we call comprehension. It's really advancing your understanding of business, and we do it in a week. And then finally, your 4th is firm specific and fit. And one of the things I want to note up front as we're talking through the overview of the 4 steps of case prep, our case prep process is firm agnostic for steps 1 through 3. So the first 21 days or 21 steps of this process, you do not need to know that you're interviewing or which firm you're interviewing with. And I'll walk you through some more details in a second. At the end, I'll highlight some of the helpful resources that we have available to you. So first of all, overview of the 4-week prep plan. Number 1, week 1 is really focusing on building core skills, building an understanding of what the case interview is, and doing something. One of the main problems that we see that people do early in their case prep process is they overthink and they overread. right? And so one of our sayings that we love to say, this is not political, this is just a general saying, is burn the books. When it comes to case interviews, we need you to be talking out loud. We need you to be understanding what is happening. And then we need you to go and find resources. So as I walk through the detail of week one, just understand our purpose is to get you talking and working out loud on cases as early as possible in the process. The best way to do that is to walk through 10 market sizing cases in our detailed version of the case prep plan, which we'll ask you later if you want to get it. It's free, but we were like, we don't know if everybody wants this. We give it to our partner schools. So we'll be curious. We'll do a poll in a little bit about that. But we'll walk you through, like, these are the 10 market sizing cases we think you should do. Same with profitability. So there are 4 key profitability cases that tie to 4 different applications of the profitability framework. We think that you need to go through those, and actually not just in any order, in the specific order that we say, because if somebody jumps into the deep end of casing because they feel like my case is really soon, it hinders your overall experience because you don't understand the basics of how to do it. So we're big on, even if you want to do 8 hours of work a day, you still got to do the steps in order. The first week also includes case structure drills, a diagnostic case, and 1 structure session. We're going to recommend in here, because this is what we do, that you do those with somebody who knows what they're doing. But a lot of you are going to find a random partner, and we love that you do that. And I found random partners, and I had people that didn't even know anything about consulting, and it was still better than reading about consulting. So we'll talk through that as well. In week 2, we really move on to focus on the details of math. At this point, you should be scared. You should not feel like you know what is happening inside the case. And if you do, we did not do our job in week 1. But case math is building you up with confidence in exactly what you need to know. So it's focusing on case math, not just the basics of mental math, but also the structures that you need to know, the formulas of math. In addition, the brainstorming piece or the creative piece and application of math, which is exhibit drills. This is really your core of your basic business education when it comes to applied math. We also would recommend that in that week, you do 1 math and 1 brainstorming session. I think this is part of the secret sauce of what we do at Management Consulted. We wait until you're halfway or more through your prep process to do a whole case. We don't think it matters. We think that being bad at structure isn't solved by doing a whole case. We think it's solved by doing 10 structures. And so we have built our entire case methodology on drill-based learning. And this is one of the keys of week 2. In week 3, we're going to focus on case comprehension. So there we'll focus on 5 out loud level 1 cases with the partner, and then advancing you at that point only. This is 2.5 weeks in. We're saying, finally, you are ready to go to what we consider round 2 or level 2 cases. These have more than 1 math question, more applied exhibits and drills, more complicated and vague questions at the beginning. They are the types that you would expect to see in a round 2 interview. One of our core beliefs is that you should be ready for round 2 before you step into round 1. That helps you make sure that you're ready to go. And then also in that week, it's a kind of a review, but also a deeper application of the mastery of core frameworks. At this point, you haven't done anything creative. You're literally just following a playbook. Week 4 is where it all changes. This is where you get to go rogue, but you're ready at that point to do exactly what you need to do. So we do firm-specific prep, fit interview, and 3 mock cases. So exposure to the different case types and firm styles, the fit and the detail is going to help you here. Anybody have questions about the 4-week prep plan overview, Japheth, before I walk in to week 1 and go into a little bit more detail?
Yeah, we've got one question. What do you mean by out loud practice?
Yeah. Okay. So watching a video of somebody, I wish I had a slide that said this, Japheth, let's note this for later. I think there are levels of value in the way that you can prep. So the way that most of us start is that we start reading. Maybe even you came to our website and started reading an article. That's level 1. Reading about cases is level 1. Level 2 is watching the verbal applied process of cases. You pick up a lot of nuance when you're watching somebody. We have free videos up the wazoo on our Strategy Simplified podcast, as well as inside our YouTube channel. All of those are free. We also have inside our paid platform for student partners, black belts and anyone who has access to our all access pass, we have expert videos where a Bain or a McKinsey person is interviewed by a Bain or McKinsey person. So you get, I think, a higher level of case performance in those as well. Watching somebody else do it is the second level. The third level is you doing it yourself. So that doesn't mean that you are sitting in a room thinking through it. That actually is exactly the same as watching somebody else do it. What you do in the third level is you do the cases out loud. And so you have to do them either with a partner, or you have to force yourself alone in a room with a timer, maybe even a recorder on your phone using a recording app, going through the cases yourself. If you don't talk through them out loud, you will never, there is not a chance in the whole world that thinking through them, you will be ready for cases. So talking out loud and doing that early is really one of the keys to success. Japheth, any other questions before I move on?
Let's move on, and we'll take a few more in a bit.
Great. So the week one overview is really kicking off with market sizing and structure. And here I'm going to give you a detailed plan for absolutely every single day. What we do in our downloadable case prep plan, which is available inside the All Access Pass, but we're open to sending it out for free if y'all would find it valuable, is we actually tell you which course, which case we specifically think you should do. So I'm going to walk you through just the 7 days of this week and why we care about each one of those. And then I'll talk a little bit about some of the basics that you learn on a few other slides in week one so that you understand what it is that we're covering. So day one, we have you start off with a market sizing course. So we have you watch a market sizing course and then do 3 market sizing cases. And we picked different options in a few different places. Day 2 is just practice, 3 market sizing cases. You get better at them with repetition over time. And then day 3 is 4 market sizing cases. And after this point is where we would recommend that you do your first diagnostic session. So if you're working with a coach, either at your university, or if you have a second year peer, or if you're working with a management consulted coach, that's the first place that we'd recommend that you come to them. You can book a session with somebody before you do anything. They're just not going to be able to help you as much. So I think breaking the ice on your own and doing those first sections of cases for 3 days, or again, if you have a longer prep timeline, 3 different steps is ideal. One of the things that I do want to mention right here is that we do not recommend that you pace out what happens in a single day. Let me explain for that. We do not recommend that you spend 10 days to do 10 market sizing cases. We recommend that you spend 3 days. I don't care whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. What I care about is that it's Monday and then the following Tuesday, and then maybe the next Saturday. I care that you do this, all of the stuff on one single day, because we found big benefits in incremental learning when you start. So if you do a market sizing case and then a second one and a third one and a fourth one, you're better at market sizing. If you do one a day, you don't actually get better. So that's one of the keys to the way that you would use this prep plan if you are not using it in exactly 4 weeks. Then in day 4, we intro you to the case at large. So we go to the broader, here's what a case interview is. In day 5, we ask you to walk through the profitability modules of our case course and do 10 structure drills. At the end of every workshop that we do, we're doing over 150 of them this year with our student partners in our schools. At the end of every workshop, we quiz people and we say, what's the part of the case that you're the most scared of? And there is not one time in the last 12 months that somebody has said something other than structure. So structure and the business application of what you do is really important at the beginning. In addition, we ask you to complete 2 profitability cases. The first one is a profitability decline case. The second one is a profitability revenue decline case. The third on day 7 is a profitability cost decline case. And the fourth is a profitability scenarios case. Again, in that order is really important if you want to see the results and the success that we have seen. In addition, this is the second opportunity for you to book a partner session with somebody else. So again, just to refresh, at a baseline, we're talking about doing these cases out loud yourself. At the optimal level, you're doing them with a partner. At the super optimal level, you're doing them with an expert. I want to just highlight a few things that you might want to know about market sizing and why we recommend starting with it. It can be a part of round 1 interviews. It can also be used as standalone in what we call round 0 interviews. So if you're at a non-core school, if you're interviewing through DEI hiring channels or conferences, if you're an undergrad, if you're using your networking skills to get into a firm, sometimes these questions come up as early filter questions. So market sizing can be an early part of your process. So getting ready for it first is really helpful. It also embodies every single skill that you need for the rest of the case in a very simple format, simple for you to create, simple to evaluate, and simple to practice. Structure, how you break down a problem into smaller pieces, assumptions that you would need to use, the calculations that you would need to use, and the insights that you would drive. All of those are necessary. Again, you're going to be able to do all 4 of those steps if you literally just sit in a room and do them on your own. You're not going to be able to tell whether against a baseline they're good unless you have a coach or even an expert coach evaluating you. Then the final piece is start with at least 10 market sizing cases. So out loud cases. You have to be able to basically do them in your sleep, and you'll start to notice that you're successful at market sizing cases when they pop up in the world around you. Like you'll walk into a restaurant and you'll wonder how many chicken wings are sold in America. That's the moment that you know that you're ready for market sizing cases. So just out of curiosity, one idea for a case would be to size the market for stroop waffles in Amsterdam. Japheth put this up there. Japheth was recently in Amsterdam. Japheth, where did the genesis of this question come from?
Man, the Netherlands has some great stroop waffles. So could not put this on there. They're so good.
So, how would you break this down? If your mind immediately starts to think about it, then that's a great sign. What we would do, inside these questions is we would ask you to do them, and then we would also give you a framework for every single thing that we ask you to do in our 4-week case prep plan. We give you instruction on how to do it. And so, for example, in the need to know information, what would you need to know? Well, you need to know the population of Amsterdam. How do you get there? You don't memorize the population of every major city in the world. You would need to know the population of 2 countries per continent. So if you know what the Netherlands is, it'd be a lot easier to size Amsterdam. If you don't know what the Netherlands is, but you know maybe Belgium or Croatia or Italy, then again, it would be easier to relatively size it. You also need to know that the US population is 320 million. And again, this is day 1. Like we're like, hey, watch these videos on market sizing cases. This is what you need to know. Also, here's how to do them. Now go do them. So immediately, we're not like, hey, watch courses for a week. None of that nonsense. This is like, get in, get your hands dirty, get it done. Step 2 is the population of the city that you're living in. So if you know that New York is X, then you might have a better guess for what Amsterdam is. In addition, the population of any city that you're interviewing for, that will build up your bank of city populations. So speaking of Amsterdam, if you in the chat would type in where you are coming from, we would love to say hi to you. In addition, I will take questions on step 1 before we move to step 2. Japheth, any great questions in the chat?
We do, yeah. So we got a couple of questions. So around the kind of virtual environment. So how does this work with the virtual environment? Does the 4-week prep plan kind of work with that kind of new format, or does it need to be adjusted?
Y'all, we were ahead of the virtual environment, let me say. So I joined Management Consulted in 2010, and I took over as CEO in 2012. And even then, we were training people using Skype back in the day, before Zoom was a thing. So yes, it works in the virtual format. We successfully trained people for in-person interviews using the virtual format. Now the virtual format is standard in round 1 for most firms, both from a scheduling perspective and also from a skills perspective. They need to see what their clients will see, and they will see you on Zoom. And so they're testing you in the environment now that you're in, not just for the skills that you would demonstrate otherwise. So yes, it all ports over. You could never meet your coach or a case partner live and in person, but you could still work with people as a part of the experience. So yes, you could, and again, you can source them on your own, or you can certainly use the community and the tools that we have built for you as well.
Amazing. All right. And then there's a lot of interest in this 4-week prep plan. So I think we're
The
gonna
digital
have
version?
to
All right, we're gonna have to
the
share it.
digital
I
version.
like
I
that.
think we're gonna have to send it out because people are clamoring. So we'll
So,
definitely.
let me give you a sneak peek. This isn't in the digital prep plan, but these are the types of things that the digital prep plan points you toward. Because again, we're not going to ask you to go size market sizing questions. We have a methodology that we think works across every one of these types of cases. And that step-by-step process preps you to be ready later on. So core steps to solve any sizing question, there are 5 core steps. So if you thought about the stroopwafels in Amsterdam, right? First of all, you have to decide whether it's people, whether it's households, or whether it's businesses that would buy stroopwafels, for example, coffee shops or hotels. That's your first job. Who's the primary buyer? Then you would need to break those into 3 to 4 segments. By the way, everything that we teach to is to the MBB level. I don't think there's any reason not to prep for that because you usually have your pick of options if you're ready to that level. So we don't recommend that you scale down your expectations based on firms that you think you're going to hire for. We recommend that you prep for McKinsey and then you're ready for anything. Step number 3 is the percentage who own or the percentage who buy stroopwafels. The next one is frequency of purchase. Japheth, what was your frequency of purchase in Amsterdam? Be honest right now. Greater than 1 per day, less than 1 per day? Like what?
Let's say one per day.
Right. So, in your segments, you might have like stroopwafel lovers, or you might have, people that like, have a coffee and are habit formers every day. Right. And those would have maybe 1 a day. And then you would have others that have it once a week, and then others maybe once a month. So your frequency of purchase is going to be a big driver of how you segment your populations. And then finally, the average price. Sometimes it will be the same, sometimes it will be different across those sectors. So anyhow, these are the types of things that inside the coursework that we give you, we ask you to do or we prep you for, and then we send you on to the cases. We will give you the case prep plan for free, but if you're not a student member, or if you're not in Black Belt, or you're not in our All Access Pass, you're going to have to DIY a kind of close version of what we get, and it's not going to be anywhere near the same, just as an FYI. So if you're excited about the free version, it doesn't mean you get all of our free digital resources, but it will give you a great roadmap to use the ones that are available. Awesome. Let's move on to week 2. So the week 2 overview is really on math and brainstorming, highlighting the 7 different days here. We focus in the first 4 days on breaking down the mental math course into 4 parts. And this is really testing you on the things that you need. The first one is addition, subtraction, and multiplication. And after that, we ask you to do 50 multiplication math drills. P.S. If you do 50 and you don't do well, you should do more. So all of these are kind of like the test level where we would give you a gateway and we would say, if you need more, do more. Day 2 is division. So the focus on that one is always on division. Division is one of the biggest hangups for people in mental math. Mental math number 3 is percentages. This is the other significantly large hangup. And then session 4 is additional math, things like squaring and kind of unique math pieces. So the mental math course focuses on that. After that point, we'd recommend that you do a math drill session. So again, if it's with an expert, amazing. If not, you should get together with somebody and do math portions of cases. We usually recommend that you use a resource like our case library to do that, because you can just open up a case, read out math, give somebody a math question, have them walk through it, and then move to another one. What you're doing there is that you're building the functional skill as well as the confidence to be able to succeed in math. Because if you go through a whole case and your math is crappy and you wait 5 more days to do the next case, you start from a deflated position on math instead of a position of success. Then in the final 3 days that week, you have a 40 grab bag math drills, which are mixing and matching the math drill. So you don't know what's going to come up. That's more like what you will get inside the case. And 5 math video drills. On our platform, we also have access to the math videos that I think are particularly helpful, that work you through the key areas. So we basically have somebody present a math prompt. We have, if applicable, data or exhibits that pops up on the screen. We have a timer, and then we have the answer at the end. So again, getting you talking out loud for us is one of the most important success factors here. Day 5 is 10 exhibit drills. Exhibit drills are using the different pieces of the case to really work through each one of those different exhibits. Day 6 is math video drills and exhibit drills, and then going on to the case course for the creative brainstorming. And then finally, wrapping up the week with brainstorming drills and brainstorming sessions with a coach. Just so that you know, when we're thinking about structure at Management Consulted, we really think through it in 4 key categories. We really push you when you're thinking through structure to develop 4 key categories. So our profitability, our market study, and our M&A teaching is all based on a 4-category structure. Ideally, you would have 3 sub-bullets for each one of those structures as well. In addition, you'll see other things that we teach about in our videos as you're practicing structure that help you become great at structure in a really short amount of time. Because let's be honest, we're not just about getting you the interview, we're about doing it in the least amount of time possible. At least that's what I learned at Bain. If you can get to the same result and make somebody $1 billion in a week instead of a month, you should do it in a week. So that speed will help you as you're working through this process, prepare for life on the job. In addition, when we're training you in case math, we don't just train you in the mental math portions, but actually in the structure of how to do the math. So that's what we teach through in the course part. And we walk through a 4-step structure. When our coaches are evaluating people and they would be considered to be, quote, not good at math, usually people are bad at 1 or more of the 4 steps of math: the recap, the structure, the solve, and the insight. So if we can figure out for you in those math sessions what the pain points are and solve for that, we're not just saying you're bad at math, you have to practice math. We're saying you have to practice how you set up step 2 of each math problem. Okay, great. Oh, you didn't do it there. Do it again. Okay, great. You know, you did it well. Let's set it up. Oh, there you're in the flow, and we kind of are able to coach you through until you become successful in the actual pain point. Questions for y'all on math or brainstorming structure?
Yes. So somebody was asking how much time should you be spending per math question? Like how long should it take to get the calculation?
Yeah. Inside the case, our guidance is that you've got the opportunity to do kind of a quick recap, and then your structure will take you the first minute of the case. Structuring is one of the things that is often not done by a lot of candidates, and it's been a thing that if we correct for it, we're able to nearly guarantee you success in the math on the case. And if we don't guarantee you success in the computation, the interviewer feels very comfortable with the way that you're going to set up or approach your math. One of our coaches who teaches with me on our faculty for universities, Eli, he's a professional flutist. He did a degree in international relations as his master's degree. He is the first to say that math is not his strong suit, but his ability to structure his math is what got him into McKinsey. And so the structure of the math is a really important part. That recap and structure in about the first minute is what needs to happen. The solve, you have about 3 minutes to do that. And you can't solve silently. You have to talk through your solve. So a lot of us are just not used to doing that. We're not refreshed on how to do that, which is why you can't just wander into a case interview without practice. I today could not wander into a case interview without practice. And I've done over 10,000 cases with people and in the hot seat. So it's just not something that any of us are used to, and we have a lot of aids and tools in other places. But that's how long you have for the solve is 3 minutes. You have to keep a minute back of the allotted time. They're not going to move you on, but they're going to start to get antsy of the allotted time at the end to display your knowledge about what the insights are. And at Management Consulted, we teach guidance on the 3 levels of insights that McKinsey uses in their cases. That was more than you bargained for, right, Japheth?
Love it. No more questions on math or structure, but we've got other types of questions related to black belt, etc. So up to you if you want to take those now or kind of wait till the end.
Yeah, we can come back to those. I'll finish out on the overview and share some resources. They might answer a few of people's questions. Japheth also is there to answer people's questions. So I know you're keyboard warrioring over there. So let me move on now to week 3. So again, week 1, just as a refresher, was talking about market sizing and profitability. It was introducing cases, but literally every single day you're doing something. There's no day where you're just sitting back with a book and a cup of coffee. Week 2 was about really diving into the math and the creative brainstorming. That might seem counterintuitive that we actually pull you away from cases. You do 0 full cases in week 2 of our prep process. In week 3, at this point, you've done 4 sessions at least out loud with somebody else, a partner, a coach, an expert, right? You've done at least those ones. And the first one was market sizing. The second one is a case diagnostic. The third is the first one is a case diagnostic, which usually includes both market sizing and a full case. The second one is structure. The third is math. The fourth is brainstorming. So it kind of gives you all of the key skills that you need. So before we release you to just do mock cases, you're more than 2 weeks into it. Here is where we start to bring you back and put it all back together again. So in week 3, day 1, you're going through the case course, teaching frameworks on market study. Market study is one of our core frameworks, very often used. It's basically universally used at the MBA level. And as a tradition, it is used in one of the first round and one of the second round cases that you'll get at the undergrad level as well. So market study cases are super important. There are 3 different types that we walk you through. The first one is market share decline. The second one is revenue growth. And the third is market entry. And so we apply the same framework simply in slightly different ways to each one of those cases. In addition, we bring back some work on structure videos so that you're refreshing how you begin cases as you get the new cases and the case types introduced. In day 3, we're walking you through 4 structure video drills and a case coaching session. Then from day 4 and 5, you're going to move on to M&A. We're recommending that you do 1 M&A case on each different day. It's going to highlight the case course for each one. There's a little bit of a different approach, same structure, same framework, but different approach when you're dealing with a financial buyer, which is type number 1 on day 4, or a strategic buyer, which is type number 2 on day 5. And again, in our prep plan, we have that mapped exactly to a case that we think is a great learning experience for you to apply those exact learnings. And then on day 6 and day 7, on day 6, we have to complete a level 2 profitability case. Level 2, again, is ramping you up from what we consider to be level 1, which is everything up until this point was to prepare you for round 1. So here we are 9 days prior to when we're expecting you to interview, or 9 steps prior to when we're expecting you to interview. And only now are we actually pushing you to advanced cases. And I really want to drive that point home, that doing advanced cases early hinders your learning and your experience, even though it might make you feel smarter to attack them and might make you feel smart to get something right in those cases. You are not going to be successful in the long run. It's going to make it a longer and slower process. So adding in here, exhibit drills, applied math, and the exhibit drills is also a really important part of this. And then the level 2 profitability, market study, and M&A cases. By the end of week 7, you have covered all of the core frameworks, levels 1 and level 2. So at this point, this is really where we move you into the remainder of the experiences that we're going to focus on. One of the things that I just want to say here is that at this point, you would basically want to actually need to know every single one of these formulas, which we include the links to do that. We have a course that walks you through all of these formulas, but I just thought this would be helpful for y'all to know today. If you don't know these formulas, you need to know all of them for case interviews. And by the end of week 3 is when we as a coach would be like, we're in trouble if we don't know these. So if you don't know them now and you need more leeway, like you're an artist or a teacher or somebody who just hasn't had this business baseline, these are the things that are expected to know. Having a business degree is honestly sometimes counterproductive because you get really deep in the weeds on how things work. When I've asked MBAs how they define profitability, some of them honestly can't do it super easily. So I'm not saying that that's at all necessary. In addition, we would expect that you would understand, like the back of your hand, estimation, internal structures, which use the profitability framework, external structures, which use the market study framework, and then M&A. And these 10 case types, you will now have done at least one of each one of them at a baseline, and then one general level 2 case for each one of the frameworks as well. So you're, 10 market sizing questions deep. You're a total of 12 regular kind of framework questions in. So you're at 22-ish cases before we say, awesome, now you can go rogue and move into everything else. Many people are done at this point. I just want to acknowledge that, especially if you have great case partners who give you actionable feedback, who are walking through the process. So what I'm about to show you in week 4 is an optional week. It's not necessary for everybody. But a lot of you will want the mental comfort or will feel like you need to have a pivot in the way that you've been practicing cases to really tailor to a final structure. So I'm going to walk you through week 4. And then we're going to pop up a poll and we'll start to take some questions. And then I'll show you a few final kind of resources before we close. So for week 4 is really about firm specific prep and fit. And as you can tell, these are not overarching. This is like literally a day by day thing. And if you don't do day 1, then doing day 2 is a little silly. So day 1 here is the only place in our entire prep plan where you grab a cup of coffee and you watch the fit interview course. And then you work through a couple of your prep questions for fit interviews. Day 2 is a case coaching session where you're going to actually get somebody to review your first pass at your stories and help guide you on which stories you need to prep for the interview. Completing 2 level 2 firm specific mock cases and 2 firm specific mock cases in level 2 on days 2 and 3 will help really level up your skills. This is when you're like, look, I'm interviewing with McKinsey. I am only going to do this for McKinsey. And I would like to say that step 4 is and should be repeatable for every unique firm that you apply for, right? So it makes sense to do somewhere around 6 firm specific cases for each individual firm that you're applying for. Some of you are going to have one shot at this. Like you'll only get Bain or you'll only get Deloitte or you'll only get OCNC and you've got to make the most of it. But if you don't, you really want to tailor your approach as you move closer to those individual firms. Also, you'll see here in this entire week, I have not done 1 day of the fit interview. I have 6 total days where you're working on the fit interview. There's a reason for that. We have found that a lot of people under prepare for the fit interview portion of these interviews. And so as they walk into the interviewer asks them a question that they didn't prepare for. It shakes their confidence and ruins their case. So we really want you to be prepared. And we walk through in the fit interview course how to do walk me through your resume. We work through how to do the key consulting questions, how to build hero stories, how to handle personal and team-oriented questions, and finally, how to handle difficult questions like weaknesses and failures. On day 6, this is your second to last day before your interview or your second to last step before your interview. We recommend that you do 1 mock case and 1 mock fit interview at a minimum. So this is your opportunity to basically do the dry run. At this point, you have not done a full interview. You may have done a case mock, but you haven't done a full interview. And it's the opportunity to get your final steps between now and when your interview happens. On day 7, we recommend that you don't do anything unless it is reviewing your notes from old cases, a case tracker that you worked through, a few of the cases that you've already done. Day 7 is really about building your mental preparedness for the case and not exhausting yourself. So with that said, Japheth's got a poll for us. Would you be interested in a downloadable version of this prep plan with links to available resources? Because it sounds like in the chat, people are saying that they might be interested in too, but we really wanted to test this out because it's a commitment for us to go build the more detailed version that I just shared with you today.
All right. Well, we currently have 0 no's, so it's looking good. 5 more seconds here.
Looking good for you, Japheth. You're going to make this thing, right? Mm-mm.
Come on, let's go. All right. We've got 100%.
I don't think we've ever put out a poll that way. Oh my gosh, that's wild. Okay.
The world's most successful poll right there.
Yeah, seriously. That just comes to show you if you ask the question in the right way, you can get whatever answer you're either looking for or not looking for. Great. So again, just so everybody knows, I just want to make sure that I'm not promising something or you're not hearing me promise something that I'm not promising. We will give you a prep plan. It will include do this case, watch these modules, etc. It is really going to be the most useful for you, and probably like 85% of it is the usefulness is actually in using it on our resources. So using it when you're actually going to the drills and then doing those steps and then marking it off along the way. So it uses curriculum from our all access pass. That's the cheapest way to get everything that will be included in this plan. It's only $700. Or if you do black belt and super prep, or if you're with our universities, you'll have access to it. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure I said that you knew that, and that you have access to everything that you'll need to be successful. I just want to mention a few things that are kind of important with what we've got coming up, and then I'll wrap up with a few final resources that I think you'll find valuable. So first of all, Management Consulted, we love what we do. I hope you can see that. If you've never been with us before, we're thrilled to be a part of helping people prep for interviews. My personal story is that when I went to interview with Bain, I bought a book. The person who wrote that book, Mark Cosentino, is a really good friend of ours at Management Consulted today. I bought the book, I read the book, and 2 weeks later, I did my first mock interview, which was with a woman from McKinsey, and she told me it was the worst that she had ever seen. So all of the failures that I'm emphasizing that could be possible for you today, I think are really, really important for you to behold and understand all of those different pieces. The free content that we have on our site is really situated so that 99% of you who can DIY just like I did have everything that you need to do that. If there is ever anything on our site that we don't have that you want, write us. We have a whole team of people that is constantly creating the best stuff. And no, we aren't AI bots. We actually do it ourselves, which is one of the reasons that we're winning with Google and hopefully winning in your hearts and minds too. We also offer private boot camps. We do these for case interviews, case competitions, and skills. If you represent a university that's not currently working with us, we would love to work with you. And Japheth will pop the email of our colleague Eden into the chat so that if you aren't working with us and you want to just hear about everything, we're very big on price transparency. So we will tell you upfront what it costs to work with us so that when we have a conversation, it's really about whether it's a fit or not, and not we're not hiding the prices. We are definitely not the cheapest in the industry, but the feedback we get from almost every school is that is very affordable for everything you provide. On a per student basis, our goal is to be an under $10 resource, and usually we hit around $3 with a lot of our schools per student. We don't charge per student, but that's usually what we're looking at. Self-study training materials are all access pass, and then one-on-one editing and training are some of the things that I've mentioned today. Japheth already earlier mentioned strategy sprint, black belt, and super prep, and we would love to have you. If any of you would be interested in joining us for those, this month will sell out. So if you want to get prep before the deadlines are coming, I would really encourage you to buy today or tomorrow at the latest, because at that point, we may be pushing folks into our next cohort, which the kickoff date for that is in early August. So if you're really just in cram mode, some of you may miss interviews basically at that point. So if you're interested, I would just recommend that you don't wait and that you jump in right now. If you jump in today, you don't have to wait for our case kickoff call. You can just get started with a coach and you can work through this prep plan right away. For case type planning, I just wanted to give you a summary. This is really the way that we think about it. And if you are doing this as a DIY, this is how I would think about it. I would make sure that you do profitability level 1 cases and you do 4 of them. So this is like the situation where you're grabbing a case book from somebody. You might have to read through a few cases to figure out if it's a profitability case, if the case book doesn't identify it as a profitability case. We call market study everything related to competition and customers. We find that to be the easiest way. It's the same framework. It works with all 3 types of cases. So doing 3 of those level 1 cases is great. And then level 1 for M&A, 2 of each of those cases. And then as we mentioned earlier, the firm specific cases for level 2 and beyond. And just so that you know, we have more in all access that we didn't really cover today, but for some of you, you might be interested in having help with your application or networking. On top of the digital resources that we have, you book a one-on-one session with our community manager, Caleb, who builds a personalized prep plan for you to break into interview opportunities. So if, you don't have to just join Black Belt if you're like, I've got a scheduled interview or I'm already applying. If you want help knowing where to apply, et cetera, we can help with that too. For case interview prep, we have incredibly comprehensive resources. The things that are linked to inside our prep plan are all of these things. So the case interview bootcamp is the overview of the teaching courses. And then we have drills that are written case structure and video case structure. We have brainstorming drills and market sizing drills. In addition, we have mental math for consulting, which walks through how we break down the mental math pieces, what's expected of you. Then we have mental math, case math drills, and exhibit drills. And again, as you saw in the prep plan that I shared earlier, the majority of those pieces are really utilized in the first 2 weeks of the prep plan. Then the consulting case library is our repository of over 600 amazing cases written by somebody from MBB. They all have answer keys and scoring keys. So you can do them by yourself or with a partner, with a partner's recommended. We also have chatbot cases. Again, our goal is to get you talking out loud. So using those chatbot cases is valuable. And then Business Basics for Consulting is a prep course that is optional in our prep plan. It's for those of you who maybe don't have any background in consulting and you want to understand how the formulas work. In addition, we have industry primers for multiple different industries that give you a baseline. That's a reading piece of the process. And then for some of you, depending on the subscription platform that you have, you'll have access to the intensives that we offer at Management Consulted. We record those once a month. They're for a smaller group of people. They really dive into something like just case structuring or just case math. They're really informative for a lot of folks. And then we also have a fit interview bootcamp, which we use in the final week of the prep process that I think is necessary and valuable. So just before we move in to the final, actually, I'll come back to the slide really quickly. Again, I just want to remind you that we would recommend that you do a minimum of 8 hours out loud with somebody else, and you have 3 options. You can do it with a peer, you can do it with somebody who knows you, who knows a specific firm, who maybe successfully got an offer, like a second year if you're in a first-year MBA program, or you can hire a coach. And so our coaching plan that I included in the case prep course, which is 2 coaching sessions for each week or each 7 days of the steps, includes 8 hours of an overview. It really starts with a diagnostic case to learn your best practices. It targets sessions on the 3 main pain points in order of the pain points that they are. Number 1 is the structure drills. Number 2 is the math drills. And number 3 are the brainstorming drills. And then refining is moving through level 2 cases and then finally firm specific cases. Of course, all of this can and often is tailored if you come to us not at the very beginning of your process. So if you do, the majority of people most of the year do. This is the time of year when all bets are off. Some of you have an interview in 3 days and you come to us 80% of the way there. We will do everything it takes to help you get that job. We don't get extra compensation for it. We just love it. We love it. That's why we do what we do. Every single one of the people who works with us is from McKinsey, Bain, or BCG. They can make a lot more money per hour doing what they do instead of working with us, but they come to us because they love you. They love unlocking your stories. They love watching you succeed, and they love being able to grab a coffee with you in 2 years and talking about your successes. So just to go back to the final 4-week prep plan, and then I'll take 5 minutes of questions before we sign off. I just want to say this prep plan is a high level that starts with market sizing and structuring. It moves to math and brainstorming. It then moves to case comprehension and finally to the firm specific prep and fit. And with this, with 22 or more cases, depending on how you handle that final week, you will be ready for case interviews. And you might have other issues, confidence issues, communication issues that we could help you work through, but this is really the overview. Japheth, questions in the chat?
Sure. Well, we've got multiple different questions about kind of time commitment. So
Yeah.
one kind of question was like, what's kind of the rough time commitment for working through black belt? And then kind of part B to that is how much would you recommend committing per day for this 4-week plan?
Yeah. Like no more than 2 hours, because at that point you're beyond the timing of what you would do inside this. And again, like this is if you have 4 weeks, you do it once a day for every day for 4 weeks. If you have longer, if you have 12 weeks, then you have a total of 3 weeks to complete 7 steps. And so I would rather have you use that 2 hours interspersed rather than trying to cram it in all on different days. I do think it's important not to do more than 1 step a day if you're able to really give yourself the full 4 weeks. So I would say a maximum of 2 hours per day. None of this is something that we babysit you on. So if you join Black Belt and you want to do half of it, great. Maybe you don't need all of it. Maybe the structuring is fine and you can kind of skip over that part and move to the next piece. I just think it's helpful to see in order the skills that we're looking for, because a lot of you come to us. I mean, we've worked with 15,000 people, y'all, to break into consulting. A lot of you come to us somewhere in the middle of a process or with skills that are uneven. And so working through all of the steps really helps to make sure that you're ready for anything.
Very helpful, Jenny Ray. All right, let's find a couple more questions here. Some folks had questions about note taking. So
Mhm.
somebody was saying, after they get to the end of the case, they like have no idea how to read the notes that they took. So, do you have a method or a framework for kind of being organized in that process?
Yeah, absolutely. And Japheth, I'm thinking, you know what? I think that we have to link to the interest form for Black Belt if people aren't able to go to that page. Are you able to pop that into the chat right as I'm thinking about closing? Do you have that link?
I don't have it on hand.
Okay, I'm gonna grab it for you.
Great.
Okay, awesome. Um, sorry, I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, I think we could help people have what they need so that they got the details even offline. So sorry, can you ask the question one more time?
Yes. Yeah, it was about note taking, kind of staying organized in that process for note taking for cases.
Yeah. So in our expert videos, we actually show you over the shoulder videos that include the details. So basically we take a video over the shoulder so you can see exactly what's happening. And I think that's a really helpful place to begin. So anyhow, I think that's the first place I would recommend you go is into the platform in the expert videos inside the case interview course. We actually do over my shoulder views. My general guidance is you want to use a maximum of 2 sheets of paper. You want to move your laptop back so you're fully in view, and you want to have enough room on the table or the desk in front of you where you can put 2 pieces of paper that you can see both of. I think like stacking and notebooks can be really counterproductive. And so I think that that's a really challenging piece. So I just want to make sure that you guys all include that in there.
Amazing. All right, and then I know there's a lot of folks asking if their school is a partner school. I think I responded to everybody, but if I missed you or you think of the question afterwards, just please email us team@managementconsultant.com, and we'll let you know if you qualify for the discount through your school. Because like I said, we've got about 110 partners, so there's a decent chance that you'd qualify.
Exactly.
Yup. Amazing. All right. Then
I
lastly,
found the form.
found the form. Great.
Yep.
I'll also just call out if you're thinking about black belt or strategy sprint, but you'd like to just talk to someone about it. We'd love to chat, and there's a link in the chat where you can book a 15-minute call to get connected to that. So we've got a few slots left this week.
I'm loving all of the, like, if we want a case together, I'm loving the all of those connections. I think that's awesome. We do have a LinkedIn group for folks that want to find a case that's free. And then inside our community, we have case partner processes. And again, we're going to be introducing that for our student partners in the next 30 days. So we're really excited to roll that out as well. I think it's
Amazing.
really helpful, by the way, when you're giving and receiving feedback to have a similar framework from which you're doing it. One of the challenges of going rogue and just finding a random person. And one of the reasons why most people, when they work with one of our coaches, work with them over a period of time is because there's a lot of incremental learnings that happen. And if you're starting from the same baseline, you're not disagreeing about methodology. You're just really focusing in on how well you're behaving toward that methodology. So it helps make that really clear.